Thank you for tuning into New Life Health Ministries. Okay, sorry, that accent was atrocious. And I don't know why I always do this. I guess I'm expecting the name to just kind of appear. It'd be kind of cool. Anyway, I'm Josh, and we're going to be talking this week about health for your body. And previously, when we talked about health, we were going over some nutrition stuff concerning veganism and vegetarianism and juicing. Oh my! This week, our blog's called Burgers and Bacon and Eggs. Oh my! Except I said it backwards. It's actually eggs, bacon, burgers. Oh well. Same thing. I'm very awkward. We're going to actually be talking about some misconceptions when it deals with meats, fats, and even some of the ketosis diet misconceptions. We talked about the dangers of veganism and vegetarianism and juicing oh my last time. And this time we're going to be talking about the dangers of eggs and bacon and burgers. Oh my. And it's not that any of these foods are dangerous, it's that overdoing it can be dangerous, and misunderstanding their functions can be dangerous. One of the main misconceptions that I know of has to deal with fat and cholesterol being bad for you. It's no. It's not a no. Yeah, no, fat in your body, especially saturated fat, the one we're told is so evil, and studies done, which I'll post a link to some of these studies down below, but what we have seen in these studies is that the more sugar someone eats, the higher saturation fat is in their blood. But the more saturated fat they eat, the less fat is in their blood. Wrap your mind around that for a second. And I know, it's weird. But I'll explain it down below with all the little sciencey things. But what's important to understand is that fat doesn't create fat. Carbs create fat. Now, too much of any of your macronutrients will create fat. Don't get me wrong. Too much fat eventually will cause you to just store it. Too much protein is changed into glucose and then stored as fat. Too much carbs, well, obviously turned into fat. It's kind of one of the main things I talk about. But, I'm sure you ignore me. I would too. I'm boring. So fat isn't the bad guy. It's not that arch nemesis. It's not our Moriarty to our Sherlock. It's not the Joker to our Batman. It's okay to eat fat. In fact, I actually drink bulletproof tea. It's based off an idea called bulletproof coffee. Google it. And it's you just add a bunch of different fats to your whatever you drink in the morning, and if you're on a ketogenic diet, it's a lot more energy for you throughout the day, and it's very good for you. So fat is good for you. Cholesterol doesn't create cholesterol. 80% of the cholesterol in your body is created by your body, which means the more you eat, that other 20%, the less there is of the 80%, which is a much bigger difference. So you want to eat more cholesterol in order to keep from having higher level of cholesterol. And carbs are actually what create the small LDL cholesterols, which are the dangerous ones. So again, fat's not the bad guy. Carbs are. In fact, when you think of refined sugars, think of Count Chocula. I know there's no picture there, but if there was, that would be cool. But Count Chocula, ooh, it's that chocolate cereal, that like knockoff brand of Cocoa Puffs, and you have this like little vampire's like, sugar. Well, every time you want to eat sugar, think of little Count Chocula following you around, because if he was real, he would be scary. And think of him just lurking in the corners, just looking at you with those really creepy cartoon eyes going, sugar! Because he wants to drink your blood because it's nice and sweet after you have all those carbs. So imagine Count Chocula. I'm going to move on from this now. But I'll be thinking about that later today while I work at Domino's with all the sugar and the flour. I'm just going to be imagining him all day now. It's kind of sad. So, moving on. Ketogenic diet. That's something we mentioned last week. It's something I talk about a lot. It fits in with the emoji diet guideline that's in the menu. You go down to that page and it's a good guideline for a good way to find different diets for health. It's not an actual diet itself. But it led me to the ketogenic diet, which is where I'm eating probably around 30 grams of carbs a day. I'm eating a high amount of fats and a very moderate amount of protein, looking at about 15 grams of protein a day, probably closer to 75 grams of fat a day or more, because I've been intermittent dieting. It was higher. But and that just means I've been skipping dinners to keep my calorie intake at a minimum, which isn't hard when you're on a ketogenic diet because you're not as hungry. Really need to do a whole thing on that one day. It's very interesting studies, very interesting how much it helps your health. But that's not today. Today I'm talking about the misconception that these low-carb diets, these ketogenic diets, are meat-happy. Like, those police officers are kind of trigger-happy. Bang, bang. Yeah, that's not what these diets are. If you're doing them correctly, you're not meat-happy. You're not just, ooh, let me eat burgers and eggs and bacon all the time. No, you're still eating vegetables and fruits. You're just eating the ones that don't have as much sugar in them. I like leafy greens. I like sprouts and carrots and nuts and all these wonderful oil. Olive oil is delicious on a salad. I like making a good salad. Peppers are amazing. I like blackberries and blueberries and strawberries, oh my. Because they have a low amount of carbs and they're delicious to snack on, and they get me my fiber, which is a dangerous thing in ketogenic diets or low-carb diets, is that often you're not getting enough fiber. But that's just the people who aren't doing it right. Same thing with what we talked about veganism and vegetarianism last time. It's hard to get the same amount of macronutrients with your fats that you need. But if you're doing it right, you can be eating avocados on the veganism diet, and you can be doing fine. A lot of avocados. But you could still do it. Same thing with the ketogenic diet. You just have to be informed. And that's part of my goal. That's part of people like Jimmy Moore's goal. If you ever watch any of his stuff, the Living La Vida Low Carb. And that's a lot of the goal of the nutrition company, the nutritionist around the world today, is just trying to keep you informed. So what you need then is balance. I need to have the egg with all the fat and the cholesterol and the protein, but I also need to have that salad. Awesome diets murder. Yes, I know, veganism and vegetarianism, they're like, yeah, but you could be good on our diets. And, we talked about this last week. It's better, but it's not necessarily good. And the thing is, you can have a good veganism diet. But if you want an awesome diet's murder. I actually got that from Trudy Deacon, RD, registered dietitian, PhD. She was on the Living La Vida Low Carb show just earlier this week. And she has a book that I'm wanting to read, and I wanted to go ahead and suggest to all of you. I went ahead and did the research on it. It's called Eat Fat, a step-by-step guide to low carb living. It looks like an excellent book. You might want to check that out, as well as the Living La Vida Low Carb show, blogs. All of his stuff's amazing. He has a Twitter. It's good stuff, good stuff. Finally, I just want to talk about specifically the dangers of being meat happy. Because people like me, when we first started ketogenic diet, we think it is all about the meat, because you're not informed. A lot of people that I've known, because we know so much about the dangers of carb, we get so meat-oriented. But the problem is, if you're so oriented on meat, you're still missing some key micronutrients that are in leafy greens and vegetables. So you need to find those low-carb vegetables and be partaking in them regularly. Some of these dangers means if you're eating a lot of lean meats, you can get so much protein, your body's turning it into glucose, and you still have that stored fat problem. You're not helping yourself. Also, you might not be getting enough fiber. I just mentioned this with the berries. And if you're not enough fiber, your colon is in danger of health. And then, of course, if you're not doing it right, you also might not be getting enough fat in your liver, which then means that your liver is unhealthy. A fatty liver is bad, but a skinny liver is also bad. You don't want your liver to be anorexic, people. You need balance. And that's kind of just the moral of last week's segment and this week's segment is you need balance. So just go ahead, and this is a yoga pose called the strong tree. So you kind of just want to do your fingers like this, put them together, and raise them over your head, and just No, that's not the point. Don't do that. It's annoying. It annoyed me that I did it. But try and keep some balance within what you're eating and everything. And I'll get back to you in a couple weeks on fasting is our next health topic. Next week we're going to be talking about Esther, and can't wait to see you all again. I can't see you, don't worry. I know that's creepy when the camera guy says he sees you. Okay, bye.